when he's active, it just makes Arizona better across the board.
Thank you.
There's a trickle-down component there that works for Arizona at a lot of positions if Johnson is engaged. And I don't know why it was, but I think there's a correlation. At least that's my theory right now, in Arizona seeming kind of disinterested in a good portion of January, and Johnson not delivering particularly good numbers and kind of disappearing. When he's active, it appears to open a lot of other things off and allows Arizona's athleticism to be utilized more effectively. And I think that's clearly pretty helpful long-term.
And see, that's the thing that's frustrating to me, guys, is that his game is predicated off energy and athleticism. Those are things that shouldn't leave. Those are things that you should always have. Listen, Caleb Love is going to have an 8 for 92 game. I mean, there's going to be some of those games where the shot just doesn't fall. But when you have the energy, when you're an energy hustle type player, it's like Dennis Rodman, give you an example, was always going to get 15 rebounds in each game because that's what his game was predicated on. I believe that Keshad Johnson should be able to do the same thing, guys. Tell me that I'm wrong.
Oh, you're not. I mean, because we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it here. We've seen it the last 4 years and other places he's been, right? And when he's doing that, to Shu's point, I mean, it really hits the nail on the head, right? I mean, it just sparks a different energy and just attitude amongst this whole team. And I think it's fair to say at this point, right? Obviously, the talent is there. Yeah, there have been some challenges on the perimeter defensively for this team. I totally get that. Yeah, Ballo at times does seem limited, and you do worry about the starting center play at times for this team. But by and large, when you look at what's happened over the last 6 weeks, to me, it's been effort. It's been guys just not being engaged. And when he's engaged, they're going to be in a good spot. And again, it goes back to everything that we've been talking about, right? The quality of the opponent, the Pac-12 conference. This team is going to this program, I think, is going to see a lot of benefit, as we've talked about over and over, moving over to the Big 12, because in mid-January, Mike, as you know, with those teams that you're going to be playing in the conference, you can't take any games off. And I think this team really is at a point where they have to play like every game could potentially be their last. And they have to bring that energy. They have to bring that attitude, and they have to bring that effort every single game. Because as we've seen over the last few weeks, if this team gets disengaged on a possession or two, it's a 15-point lead. And then suddenly it's a 5-point lead because the opposition made a series of a couple of threes where you really weren't trying to defend it. So I think the margin for error just really isn't as big for this team, maybe compared to some other talented teams across college basketball. Let's remember this too. Like, I know Cal's not a great team, but in terms of experience, I think the majority of their roster was made up. They were talking about on the broadcast with transfers, and that's just the nature of college sports now. When you are able to bring guys in, Keshad Johnson's a perfect example. Caleb Love is a perfect example, and that translates to other programs across the country. They're not necessarily going to be better or as good as Arizona, but they're going to be tough. They're going to be experienced. And when you're playing seniors and grad transfers, I don't care how bad the team is. You can't take any possession off because those guys are experienced. They're smart basketball players. And as you've seen with Arizona, you got to be locked in at all times.
And I think, Mike and Ben, what's kind of helpful in that regard is that Johnson and Love at least understand what's necessary in the NCAA tournament. So hopefully that's the kind of spark that falls under the equation. I don't know, but I wonder if Johnson just wasn't right for a portion of the last month. And I don't know
has he looked more in the last couple games, what you wanted to see?
Yes, absolutely. And before that too. And because it doesn't make sense given his history at San Diego State, which is an every game defense, every possession, rebound, lockdown, effort team. Then that's the reason you brought him into the program. Johnson was never really an effort problem. So it seemed weird when he flatlined a little bit. And so hopefully what we have here is, whatever issue may or may not have been there has been taken care of. The effort's there, and it helps Arizona as well.